अच्छा, don't
घोड़ी आएगा।
हर्ष जी।
हाँ जी।
हाँ, आई थिंक 100 पार्टिसिपेंट्स हो गए हैं, इसी की लिमिट है, उससे ज्यादा हो नहीं सकते, तो आई थिंक स्टार्ट कर लेते हैं
ठीक है।
प्रोग्राम को।
ठीक है।
एंड मैं अब स्टार्ट करता हूँ। गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीवन। सो
गुड आफ्टरनून सर। गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
yes, so today we are very grateful to have with us Sri Harsh Joshi ji. Basically, the main purpose of today's program was to get everyone an overview of how the examination of Indian Cost Account Service happens, to create awareness about this examination for all the professional fraternity, and also have a very focused approach towards cracking this exam. Because generally this exam doesn't have any set pattern. It doesn't have any dedicated institute or coaching institute or study material. So we wanted that the person who has topped this exam himself, he got an All India rank 1, give us some tips, give us some guidance which enables us to get qualified for this exam. So before giving the introduction of the speaker, I would first like to give the introduction of Shri M.K. Anandji, who is the moderator of the session today. Unfortunately, he's traveling, so there might be some voice problems. So, Shri CMA M.K. Anandji, he is a fellow member of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, MCOM, MBA Finance from Strathclyde Graduate Business School, Glasgow, UK. He worked with HMT Pinjore and Philips from 1982 to 88. Later, he joined the Group A Indian Cost Account Service in central government in 1988 batch. So he himself is from this service, Indian Cost Account Service, and he will have a very wide and broad practical experience about the service. We are very happy to have him here. He is the former principal advisor cost in the Ministry of Finance Department of Expenditure. He worked in various ministries of the Government of India, namely Department of Company Affairs, Tariff Commission, Bureau of Industrial Cost and Prices, Ministry of Defense, Finance, Department of Commerce, looking after the Supply Division, Directorate General of Anti-Dumping, CERC, and Department of Food and Public Distribution. Next, I would like to give an introduction of the speaker for the day, Shri Harsh Joshi ji. He is a chartered accountant by qualification and a company secretary. He is also done BCom honors. In CS, he secured an All India rank 13, and he joined the Group A Indian Cost Account Service in central government in 2021 batch with an All India rank 1. Currently, he is an assistant director at the Ministry of Finance Department of Expenditure. In the past, he was the assistant manager in SBI and officer of the Indian Audit and Accounts Department, CAG India. So we are very grateful to have you with us, sir. And before starting this topic, I would like to give you an introduction of basically how this program format would be. So we thought that rather than having a monologue, that is just a speaker speaking everything, why not make it interactive? And for making it interactive, we felt that a question answer session would be very good. And this is the whole format. So first of all, there would be certain questions which I would be asking from the speaker, and then it would be open to all the members who have joined today's program. But before starting the session, I would request Shri M.K. Anandji to basically kick-start the session, to give his few remarks, opening remarks for this session.
Thank you very much. Thank you for organizing this one session. Mr. Harsh Joshi is actually the professional training these days. And when I spoke to him, and he said it will be a great thing to discuss with our fellow aspirants. Harshi, I am sharing today's day and extreme business in your. And as we know from the service, you are one of our very bright stars. And I know your guidance to all of us. Voice is not clear. Voice is not clear, though I saw the car. Is it no? Is the voice?
Voice disturbance is there, sir. Voice disturbance is there.
Yeah. So I thank once again Harshi for spring and I also thank Sankar for he's a budding practitioner. These days he is extremely busy for that reason. And thank you very much for making this session. I think my there because I just back up cost conference in Bhimtar. So this is all hilly terrain. So my apologies. I wish you all very best and strong and jump ke ye over to Sankalp and over to her. Thank you very much.
So, without further ado, I think we should start the session, Harji.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, the first question for you basically is, from where should we prepare for the Indian Cost Account Service exam? Is there any coaching institute specializing for this examination?
See, I'll come to the second question first. There is no specialized coaching institute that is available for this examination. The reason being that, see, for the civil services exam, you have a large number of candidates who are appearing because the basic eligibility criteria is you need to be a graduate in any discipline to appear for that exam. So you have loads of graduates in India. So those people cater to the coaching industry for the civil services, and that is commercially viable. But when you come to Indian Cost Account Service, the basic qualification is that you either need to be a chartered accountant or a cost and management accountant. So you do not have as many candidates who are CAs or CMAs as there are graduates in this country. So the coaching institution for this exam would not be commercially viable. So there is no specialized coaching institute that is available for this exam. Now coming to the first part of the question, as there is no coaching institute available, you have to prepare on your own. That is, self-study is the only method of preparation. Now from where you should prepare is, you have two institutes. That is Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of India and Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Both have their study materials available, which are really good. So the basic material that is available is that you can refer these study materials of both the institutes. Hello?
Yes, yes. Please continue.
Yeah. So you can refer the study material of both these institutes. There are certain number of topics in the syllabus. If you look at the institute's study material, the syllabus would be covered in both the institute study materials in an ample way. That is, it's exhaustively covered. So that was my base material from which I prepared. Apart from that, any other standard reference material that the aspirant may be comfortable with can be referred.
So basically, you're saying that the whole study material of the institute itself is sufficient?
It is sufficient, yes.
Okay.
Because both the institutes have covered each topic in exhaustive details that you may not find in other coaching study materials. Because they'll go by past year trends kya raha, so accordingly they'll prepare the material and they'll emphasize on one topic, and given the UPSC exam, it's completely uncertain. So the candidate is expected to cover the syllabus exhaustively, because you do not know that from where UPSC may just ask a question, and that one question may create a difference because the number of vacancies is very less. So the cutoffs are usually on the higher side. So it needs to be done exhaustively.
Okay. So our next question is, how to prepare for the ICOS exam?
Yes.
Are there any shortcuts? Because now there is a lot of time scarcity, as you know, that only just I think 2-3 weeks are left.
Right.
So what is your take on that?
I think I answered partly from where to prepare. That is, you can refer the institute's study material, and that can be the basic book from which you can prepare. I think there are some topics which you will not find in the institute study material, like government accounting. I'm not sure if it's available now. So the government accounting, you can just Google it. There are some really good online sources, like there is a website of CGA. Okay, it has come out with a document or some other website. So that has a brief crux of what the government accounting system in India is. Now, we do not, I think UPSC should not expect that the candidate should know the integrities of government accounting or everything about government accounting, but the basic idea, like there is an accrual system of accounting which is not present in the government. You have double entry in the government. So just a basic idea about the basic concepts, how the government accounting functions. So this should be known by the candidate. That is what is expected. And coming to the second part of your question, could you just repeat it? It just skipped my mind.
So one was how to prepare, which you have answered. Other was, are there any shortcuts? Because now there is time scarcity, the exam is coming close.
So one thing should be clear. None of the UPSC exams are easy. So there is no shortcut to success. Whatever the limited time that a candidate is having, he should just prepare with full dedication. And right now, since there are hardly 2 or 3 weeks left for the exam, so now if you can manage leaves with your job, then please manage leaves, please study full time, and just revise multiple times if you can. If you cannot, then just try to complete the syllabus, because as professionals, you are expected to know certain things. The people are not students anymore that they have to learn new things. They already know certain things. They just need to revise. So revise accordingly. So that is how you should go. There are no shortcuts to success, because there are so many students who are applying, and there will be some who will cover the entire syllabus, who will do multiple revisions, and they'll come and give the exam. So they always have a better chance of getting selected than the others. So you have to compete. It's a competitive exam. So there are no shortcuts. That is my opinion.
Yeah, I think very well said, because there are no shortcuts to anything if you want to achieve anything in life.
Right.
So the next question which we wanted to ask was how you yourself prepared for this exam, because you have been a rank holder. I was checking your educational background, and it is quite a very good track record. You have been a rank holder in CS. You cleared the CA exams in the first attempt, and then you got the first rank in the ICOS exam as well. So how much time you had invested in a day to prepare? What was the duration? Was it a month, 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months for the preparation? And the third question is, what was your study pattern? So did you focus on one thing first, then on another? So it would be insightful to hear this.
So coming to my preparation, I referred the same study materials, that is CA, CMA Institute study material, both for inter and final. The basic idea was to get clarity on each topic and keep my basics strong. Fundamentals should be absolutely clear, because UPSC asks many questions which test your fundamentals. Then regarding the duration of my preparation, see, there is a time gap between when the notification comes out and when the exam is actually conducted by UPSC. What happens is that the candidates try to get complacent during that period, thinking कि यार अभी exam में तो बहुत time है, जब notification exam का आएगा, then we'll start preparing. So I did not do that. I was working. So when I came back home after work, I used to sit down, I used to prepare. Maybe not in that full gear mode, but I was regular with my preparations. I used to study topics, like whatever, something like there was new, which I hadn't read that well before. So I started reading them. Like for me, CMA Institute study material was new. So I started reading your institute study material. And by the time when the exam notification came out, I was quite comfortable with my syllabus. So then I went into the revision mode. So I think this process was roughly around 6 or 7 months that I took to prepare. So the idea is that nobody should get complacent, and right now you do not even have the luxury to get complacent if you want to get selected.
No, I think the point is quite clear. Nobody can get complacent, especially when their stakes are so high. And you shared that you studied for around 6 to 7 months. Consistency matters a lot.
A lot.
Yes. Can you also tell me how much hours did you put in a day? So because you had to manage it with your job, it would be very difficult.
Yes, so I was working with the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So I used to come back home by roughly around 6:30. So after that, I used to just go on with my daily routine and would start studying from roughly around 7:30. So from 7:30 till 11, I used to study. I was not an early riser, so I would not study in the morning. But yes, I used to study sometimes till 11:30 or 12, or till the time I went off to sleep. I used to study. I used to try to get myself comfortable with the topics again, because I had cleared my CA way back in 2011. So there were a lot of topics that I was not well versed with it, or that weren't in my mind at that time. Because when you get into a job, you are comfortable with those topics that which with you are dealing every day, and you tend to forget those topics which you are not working on. So I try to keep myself regular with those topics, and accordingly, when the exam came, I guess roughly 1 or 1.5 months before the exam, I tried to manage leaves. Even if I was in office, I was studying all throughout. My boss was very cooperative, thanks to him. I used to study in the office as well, and that is how it went on.
That is quite understandable. You were juggling across various things. One thing when I was listening to you, which was very important, I could relate, because I think CA course doesn't talk about cost accounting standards and
Right.
basically the
Cost auditing standards, cost accounting standards. Yes, it does.
which is very detailed in the CMA Institute course.
Yes.
So you had to grow up, and plus, I don't know how many here are basically practicing. Since I'm practicing, the theory and practical, there is understanding the theory till you don't do the practical is quite a task.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when I am doing those standards, it comes very naturally to me. But if somebody reads about those things, then it doesn't come very naturally.
Right.
Then you have to, I think, discuss with someone. I don't know how you figured it out.
You have to take that extra effort to learn all those things.
Yes.
If you aren't dealing with them on a regular basis. And these questions are not only asked in the this written exam or MCQ, you may call it. These questions are also asked in the interview. Like I was asked about cost accounting standards. I was asked about 8 cost accounting standards. I was asked about all the cost auditing standards in the interview. So these questions are even relevant from the perspective of the interviews at a later stage.
Yes. Acha, one thing which I was, which was in my mind. So there is a syllabus pattern. Should we concentrate on certain aspects in the syllabus, or we shouldn't? So I will give you an example. Basically, when I was preparing way back 10 years back for my cost accounting exams, what I used to do was, my strategy was, I used to first get the previous year questions, and those previous year questions topics I used to mark in my study material. So this helped me to understand where I have to focus and where I don't have to focus. So this was one of the strategies which I followed. So do you have any such kind of a strategy, like for our listeners, basically participants, which of course it was easy for you to follow, might not be for others, but still there was some strategy which you followed?
See, I think you're talking about the scanners that were available for the exams. Yes. So scanners, आप अगर देखेंगे तो वो तब बनते थे when you have a history of exams, like past 20 years, past 30 years kind of things. Now the exams for this service started from the year 2014. Prior to that, the recruitment was based on interviews. So you do not have a history of exams that you can get multiple questions on a single topic, and then you can just analyze that these are the important areas. So we have just had, I guess, 3 exams since 2014. Mine being the third one. So you cannot just guess on the trend based on 3 exams. So that is difficult. So my advice would be that prepare all the topics, because UPSC has a lot of scope to ask many questions from the topics which have not been asked in the previous exams. So cover the entire syllabus. And coming to the other part of the question, that is regarding how I went about it. So I just concentrated on the
I think Harshji's audio has got disconnected. I will let him to please all of you wait for some time. I let him reconnect.
Sankalp ji, I'm talking to him. Sankalp ji, I'm talking to him.
Okay. Thank you.
Harsh, तुम disconnect. Yeah, Sankalp ji, he's reconnecting. Some issues were there.
So the moment
Actually,
yes, please tell.
Yeah, continue, please. Continue. Presently, he is there in Faridabad, National Institute of Financial Management, where I am working as faculty there. So he is under training over there, induction training or the professional training program. So from there, he has joined. He is reconnecting himself within a few minutes. Thank you.
Sankalp, please welcome the state for the service fee. Is there in the is the training. Russia was here. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Rajesh is also in Boston service.
Okay.
Is training. Let you wait the fear. Yes.
Yeah, good morning, sir. No person better than you will be there. Sir, good morning, sir. नमस्कार सर.
क्या हो गया?
सर, आप इस समय ट्रैवल नहीं करना चाहिए था. आपकी आवाज सुनने में तो अच्छा लगता है, पर आपकी आवाज सुन नहीं पा रहे हैं. संकल्प जी मैनेज कर रहे हैं.
कॉन्फ्रेंस
आ गए. हर्ष आ गए.
अच्छा
सर, हर्ष आ गए.
I'm sorry, I got disconnected due to some technical problem.
So basically,
so I'm not sure what was heard and what wasn't heard. So
yes. So basically, my question was, are there any hacks and tips for cracking the exam? So I shared basically one of the things which I started. I was talking about the scanners. So what I did was I saw the previous year questions and I marked those questions in my study material. And those portions I did in my study. So basically, I was thorough with certain parts of the study material. So some hacks or tips which you had basically during your preparation used for passing the exam.
yes. So my first recommendation is that the basics should be absolutely clear. Second one is try to cover the entire syllabus, because as I said, UPSC can ask the questions from a lot of areas which have not been touched in the previous papers. Third one is, see, the pattern of the exam is MCQ based. Now you have 120 minutes to answer 120 questions. So you have 1 minute per question. The candidate has to read the question, think about an answer, solve the question, and even mark the answer within that minute. So the time is scarce. During the exam, time is a scarce resource, and whatever questions that you are solving in the comfort of your home, and the questions that you'll be solving during the exam time, the kind of mental pressure that you'll be having is entirely different. So I think that the limited time that you have right now will help you prepare for that mental pressure as well. So try to be as calm as possible during the exam time. Do not panic at all. The other thing is that, see, since the paper is MCQ based, you can use the method of elimination if you do not know certain answers. Like I faced certain questions for which I wasn't sure with the answer. But if you look at the options that were available with the question, you surely knew that, okay, this one is not the one, and this one cannot be the one. So there are two options to which you can restrict yourself. Now, given the chance that if you mark an answer within those two options, your chances of getting a correct answer is 50%. So that much risk you can take. So take calculated risk, because if you answer 80 questions and all those 80 questions are correct, you will not get selected. That's a given. Like I answered 115 questions and I tried to score as much as I could. So try to attempt maximum questions and try to attempt those questions accurately. Try to be fast. So practice numericals a lot. Do not ignore theory, because there are a lot of theoretical questions. So you can save time on those theoretical questions, because therein you need not solve the question. You just need to read and you need to just think and answer those questions. So it hardly takes 30 to 40 seconds to answer those questions. So save time on those questions. There may be some questions which will be really difficult. To keep those questions for the end. Like I completed my paper once, then I had time to even go through my paper the second time. So there are people who are not able to see the entire question paper. So there may be questions which are really easy and which are at the end of the question paper, but you were not able to reach to the end because of scarcity of time. So try to see the entire question paper. Try to keep difficult questions for the end, and in the second attempt, you can all attempt those questions, or if time is not there, then you can just skip those questions. So this is my tip to everyone, that try to be fast, try to be accurate, and that is how you should go about it. Be calm, be absolutely calm. You have nothing to lose. Okay.
So a lot of members have asked in the chat box relating to the examination pattern. So is there any structure of the syllabus that how much weightage has to be given to what topic?
No, there is no such weightage defined for the exam. I think each topic given by UPSC is equally important. They may assign 40% weightage to just two topics and not ask questions from some of the topics. In the next exam, they may do something reverse. So there is no set weightage assigned to any topic. But if you see the structure of the exam, then I think cost accountancy will be holding a greater weightage as compared to the other topics, because there are diverse topics which are there, and then cost accountancy would be covering nearly 50% of your syllabus. So that way, I think cost accounting, because of the structure of the syllabus, has some weightage which is greater to the other topics that are covered by the syllabus.
Okay. So basically, when I talk about when we do practical work for our clients, we focus on two things. One is delivery and the other is quality. So when I talk about delivery, because if I don't give the work on time, the client would be penalized because of filing the audit reports late. And if it is not quality, then why would he indulge me for the next year? Appoint me for the next year. So similarly, I am saying that in this exam also, these two factors have to be taken care of. One is the speed and other is accuracy.
Absolutely.
So if and speed is important because we as professionals have given examinations theoretically. So we know how to write a lot, but doing this, So I think it is more to do with the decision making. The government wants to check the decision making of the people they are recruiting. That
Quick and accurate decision making. That is what the government wants. So
yes,
plus you will have a lot of mental pressure when if you're posted in the ministries. There is a lot of work. You have time schedules and you have deliverables that you have to deliver within those time schedules. So this exam is just a stepping stone. The real challenge starts after you qualify this exam. So this is just a short phase that you're preparing yourself for the bigger challenge that will come up later on in life. So
we are delivering in this basically.
Harsh ji, some of the participants are asking that can you tell about the negative marking, how it is done in
Yeah.
this exam?
So the negative marking is 1/3 of the marks assigned to each question. I assume there are 120 questions and the total marks are 300. So it's 2.5 for roughly around that for each question. So I guess 0.83 or something per question which is answered wrong would be deducted. 1/3. I think it's given in the exam notification. So for every 3 questions that you get wrong, 1 question which you have answered correctly, the marks for that question will be deducted.
I think there was some voice lag. Can you please repeat for every 3 questions?
For every 3 questions that a candidate answers incorrectly, the question or the marks assigned to 1 question that was answered correctly by the candidate will be deducted. So 1/3.
1/3 for each. Okay, and calculators are also not allowed in the exam.
No. Calculators are not allowed. So that is again a challenge because given the calculator, if a candidate has a calculator, and some questions can be answered quickly, but then you have to do your own calculations and that may again take time. So try to save time on the theoretical questions.
Okay. So can you let us know for qualifying how much score is required?
See, the cutoffs are different for different categories of candidates, and I think it is publicly available on the UPSC website for my attempt. So that way you can get an idea because I cannot recollect the cutoffs for all the categories. So that would be difficult for me to answer. That is available publicly. If you just Google it, you'll get it.
Okay. Okay. So coming to the next question. What role did senior ICOS officers play in helping you crack the exam?
See, during this MCQ based exam, this test, I wasn't aware of any ICOS officer. I had just come across some LinkedIn profiles and that really fascinated me. I was really interested by the kind of work these people were doing. So I wasn't aware of any of the officers. I wasn't in touch with any of the officers prior to my test. Once I qualified the test, I made an effort. I tried to connect with 2 officers and they were really warm. Then I contacted them over phone. I sought guidance for the interviews. They told me about how the interview goes and what kind of questions may be asked through their experience. And that helped me. That really helped me because I got a sense of direction, like how should I prepare for the interview? Because the interview is not only a test of your knowledge, it's a personality test. When I went for the personality test, there were a lot of questions that I could not answer. But the idea was I was very calm during the interviews. I was always smiling and not unnecessary smiling, but I was smiling. I was very calm. I was composed. I was not, I like there was a rapid fire round kind of thing that was going on with me during the interviews. I wasn't even being able to answer. Like I just started giving an answer and the next question was popped up to me. And after this entire scenario, they asked a very basic questions like what are the elements of cost? So that everybody should be knowing. So somebody who's not calm during the interviews may not be able to answer that question and they'll understand. The people are very smart to understand all these things. So that is how it helped me. These tips and guidance that I got from seniors, that is what helped me.
So Moving on to the next question. So as discussed, there is no study material for this examination.
No, you have a study material that is C and CM Institute study material, not an exam specific study material.
Yes.
So basic fundamental required will be to select. So basic fundamental clarity, all the you need to understand. For that the material.
I'm not being able to understand what is being said.
Anand sir, सुनाई नहीं दे रहा actually.
सर आपके मैसेजेस आ रहे हैं, आप मैसेज डाल दीजिए सर, हम लोग समझ
हाँ सर, मैसेज डाल दीजिए तो वो पता चल जाएगा.
यस सर.
एंड चंद्र बाबू जी, आप प्लीज आपने प्रेजेंटेशन सेशन ऑन कर दिया, वो थोड़ा क्लोज कर दीजिए.
Sir, I have to ask one doubt. Can I ask?
1 minute. Actually, the format is basically I will ask the questions first, then we will open for the audience as well. So, Balaji, please wait for some time.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So, the next question is, there is no study material, and you're saying that the institute study material is there.
Yes.
How to then prepare for the multiple choice questions? Because basically there are only 3 exams, and we don't have the habit of taking multiple choice questions. Can you guide something on that?
See, if you see the institute study material, see theory questions, you will have some MCQs at the end of every chapter or at the end of every module. Okay. Or even the questions, if you read the theory, you will be clear with your fundamentals and basics. So obviously you can answer the theory questions. So I'll not go in the theory aspect of it. Coming to the practical questions, there are some numericals in the institute's examples which are really lengthy. Now, those questions cannot be asked as MCQs. Only a part of that question can be asked. So you will have many examples in the institute study material which would be explaining or which would be asking questions only on that aspect of a numerical. So that is what you should focus on, keeping in mind that the MCQ questions will be short. They cannot be lengthy questions. So that is how you can prepare regarding the numericals.
So basically, lengthy numericals won't come for the...
Like for example, in marginal costing, you will see that there are really long questions. Like if you go into key factor analysis and all of those things, they will be really long. But if you only have to calculate contribution per key factor, so that is something really small. You have to just identify the key factor and you have to just do a simple calculation. So those kind of basic questions may be asked. You need not go into lengthy questions like to take a decision whether you have to make or buy or outsource or whatever.
Very true, very true. So I think what Anand sir was trying to say is, he has written in the chat box, fundamentals need to be very clear.
Absolutely.
For the basic study material.
Absolutely.
And I think this is what you also are trying to point out.
Sir would be knowing it better.
Yes, very true. That I think if our fundamentals are strong, then of course we'll get the speed and we'll be able to answer the MCQs properly. After this, the next question that I would like to ask was, what inspired you to sit for the exam, and what were your circumstances when you decided to try this exam?
So what inspired me was, I'll tell you, when I was pursuing my chartered accountancy, I was fascinated with the idea that how finances moved in the government. Because what we usually do, we get into the private sector or we just complete our professional degrees, go for an MBA and then again jump into corporate world. So we tend to manage the finances of a company. I was fascinated by the idea how the finances of the country are being managed. So that was one thing that I always had in my mind. So when I started to prepare for this exam, like I said, I was working with the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. I was touring a lot. So that can be as the immediate factor that kind of helped me to clear this exam, because since I was touring a lot, I was eating outside and I wasn't liking it. So I was like, I have to clear this exam. And that is the reason that I started preparing early on. So that is it. Like, that is what is.
Basically, you had the passion and you were fascinated.
Yes, I wanted to work for the government. I wanted to see how the finances of the country are being managed, and this service being an organized Group A accounting service, being manned by professional chartered accountants, cost management accountants, gives you ample opportunity to work in the government, and then the posts are in various ministries, and you do not have that monotony of working in a single ministry. So you get to see the various aspects of the government relating to the fields of finance. So this service gives you an exposure which can be unparalleled, which cannot be offered by any other service for professionals like us. So that is what helped me prepare, and that is what inspired me to prepare for this exam.
Okay. So the last question from my side is, then after that we will open for the audience as well. How did you feel after getting an All India rank 1 in this exam?
Absolutely elated and thankful. See, the next 3-4 days, or rather 1 week, was such that I'll never be able to forget in my life. I was receiving calls from everyone, and even from people whom I had not spoken to throughout my life. So these are facts. So the feeling cannot be defined in a few words. Once you get through, that feeling of satisfaction, that feeling of inner peace that you get, that feeling of calm, that yes, you have achieved what you wanted, and now you will be sitting on a path that you always wanted to tread on. So that feeling cannot be defined. It's really difficult to define, and that's it. I suggest everyone to study hard and just experience it on their own. That is what I'll suggest.
Before opening to the audience, there is one very specific question which I would like to ask. One of the participants has written in the chat box. In Companies Act, they said about specific topics. So should we go for specific topics or for the Companies Act as a whole?
See, as far as I can recollect, is it special emphasis on those topics, or what is written in the syllabus? I'll just explain. If it's special emphasis on, or if they have mentioned certain topics, that means they'll be assigning more weightage to those topics. So those topics should not be ignored at all. They should be prepared. Other than that, if you have time, please go through the entire Companies Act. That is your call. But I do not think you'll have that much time to go through the entire Companies Act. Do not ignore the topics that have been specifically mentioned by UPSC.
Okay. So Kapil ji was asking, Kapil ji, is it okay or anything else?
Yes, sir, it's okay. Thank you. I have one more question, please. If you ask that, that would be grateful.
Yes, so this is different from the syllabus. It is basically what he's asking is, if you want to be in the top 1% of this exam, what is the differentiation that you have to bring in your preparation?
See, if you have to get selected, you have to be within the 1% if you want to be selected, because the passing percentage itself is around 0.5% or less for any exam that's conducted by UPSC. So whatever I have spoken, like keeping your basics clear, practicing numericals, keeping calm during the exam, and attempting maximum questions accurately, all these will help you to be within the 1%. Try to cover the entire syllabus. Do not leave any portion that is not covered, because once you are come out of the exam, and if say 5 questions are asked from that topic, then you'll be regretting that had I studied only that topic, I would have been able to answer those 5 questions. So do not do that.
Very nice. One of the questions that I can see in the chat box is, Indies, should it be studied in depth for the preparation? See,
the questions from Indies will not only be asked in this exam, they may be asked in the interviews as well. So having as much knowledge about NDS would help you. Like there are so many aspects to an NDS. So unless and until you do not study the Indian accounting standards in detail, you wouldn't be able to answer those questions. So they have to be studied. Because even in the practical scenario, after getting selected, you are dealing with company accounts and all those things. You are analyzing things. So you have to have knowledge about these things. So that is one of the reasons why the syllabus was revised. So that knowledge is expected of a professional. Obviously, you have to know more than the remaining candidates. That is how you will be in the top 0.5%. So you have to study that.
Yes. So I think we will, I have tried to cover the questions which were in the chat box. We will open it up for the audience. So before that, before opening it to the audience, what we can do is, Rajesh Agarwal ji is also with us.
He is a senior colleague of
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
The question, if you can add the wisdom to then we take Harsh. You have some time with Harsh.
Hello.
You have Harsh has some time with you now.
Sir, your voice is not clear, sir.
I will repeat. So basically, he is asking, do you have some time right now?
Yes. No issues at all, sir.
Thank you. And if Rajesh ji to speak to, and Rajesh is a very senior colleague of mine, and I had a tremendous request, Rajesh ji.
In fact, there is a lot to learn from Rajesh, sir. We have come for training right now, and he's one of our trainers. He's training us.
That's why I'm telling. And let's see, I was thinking very big that I would have a time in the beginning. So Rajesh, you can speak few time.
Rajesh Agarwal, sir. I think he is not on.
I'm grateful to Shri Anand sir, and just give an example that Anand sir is so open-hearted person. When I qualified this exam and I went to meet him, I know him before qualifying the exam initially. Even as I was a student, I knew him. So he in the gallery, open-heartedly, open-armly, his personality physically also is larger than me. तो बच्चे की तरह से उन्होंने मुझे अपने दोनों हाथों में ले लिया था. तो he loves not me, but he loves so many persons, including me. Thank you, sir. Harsh, as the persons who are interacting with him, is a very nice person, and this niceness was continued when he was being interviewed by the UPSC. UPSC interview is always tough. I have qualified twice. That I know. But only thing is that for cost and chartered accountants, it is not basically for the fundamentals or core areas, because core areas have already been tested by both the institutes, cost accountant, chartered accountant institutes, and also by the exam conducted by the UPSC. Although they ask some technical questions, they ask some basic questions just to keep the things make the participant comfortable or interviewee comfortable, and then they focus to see inside of the person whether he is a fit person to be inducted in the class 1 services, almost equivalent to the IAS services. And cost accounts officers are doing wonder in almost all the ministries, and therefore they test the ability of the person in his personalities. The questions are coming in the chat, as well as Mr. Harsh has answered very beautifully. The stress has to be given onto the fundamentals. Need not to go deeply into the entire syllabus of the Institute of Cost Accounts and Institute of Chartered Accountants. The idea is that the basic thing which UPSC has asked for must be done thoroughly, revised several times. And on this forum, for the first time telling, I think none of my seniors must be knowing this shifting from the interview-based exams to the exam-based selection was done during my tenure. I was interacting with the UPSC, and what I was interacting was not known to my seniors also. I'm sorry, and I do apologize, Mr. Anand sir and others. I kept all those things kept with me only, because what syllabus has to be given, where has to be chosen, which books have to be selected. Those things I have never expressed to anyone. So as Harsh has rightly said, you have to focus on the fundamental things, on the basics, on the topics which have been told to you by the UPSC. Certain questions are coming about the numericals. Every sane person can understand that when exam paper is set so that the people can attempt. So no numerical will be given which will take more than 1 minute for a person who is trying to come to the elite service of Indian Cost Account Service. So don't worry about these numericals. Only worry is that whether are you comfortable, as Harsh has said, are you comfortable on the numericals or not without your calculators? Only small part of the long questions will be asked. So you must know everything. Then only you can attempt. No fear, only preparation. Thank you very much. I think so. Time is for Harsh, not for me.
Thanks, Vijay, much for very balanced and very thoughtful. Thank you much.
Thank you, Rajesh sir. Thank you, Anand sir. I think now we shall open the participants if they have any questions. In the meantime,
Sir, I have a doubt.
yes, Balaji, please ask the question.
UPSC contains preliminary, mains, and interview. Is these exams are fully covered with MCQs or not?
See, this exam does not have a preliminary exam per se. Okay, because as I said, that the number of candidates are not as large as that for the civil services exam. The preliminary exam is only for a basic screening so that the final selection can be done. So that kind of basic screening is not required, because if you are a member of the Institute of Cost Management Accountants of India or the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, you have some basic attributes which are there with you. So those attributes have already been tested. So we only have a final exam, and that is followed by a personality test. So these two exams are there. The weightage of the written exam or the MCQ based exam, that I may call it, is 75%. The weightage of the interview or the personality test is 25%.
So many questions in the chat box many participants are asking. Basically, what will be the language of the interview for the exam?
I'll come to that aspect. The interview board is very cordial. They do not try to get you into pressure. They want to talk to you, because if you do not talk, how will they get to know your personality? So they are very cordial. They make you very comfortable, and you can answer questions in the language that you are comfortable with, either English or Hindi or maybe any other language, but that is with the permission of the board. The normal course of the interview will be in English, but if you want to speak in any other language, you should take permission from the board. If the board allows, then only you should talk in any other language.
So some of the participants are asking, what about the basically the statistics? How many appear for the examination, and after that, how many get selected?
See, that is something that only UPSC can answer. I think it's available online for some of the past attempts. So that way you can see, even if there are, say, 5,000 candidates or 3,000 candidates who are appearing. So all those 3,000 candidates are professionals. They are professionally qualified. They'll be knowing the things that UPSC wants to ask. So getting into 0.5%, like in my case, there was only one vacancy available for open category. So if I was not rank 1, I wouldn't have been selected at all. So that kind of competition you can expect. So you have to be very clear on what you want.
So I have some statistics. Should I share them or?
Yes, if you have some statistics, please share them.
Yes, 1 minute.
Or you can share the link, I think.
I think it is basically a presentation.
Okay.
Yes. So this is, of course, it doesn't split into the various categories, just the total candidate wages. I think it is visible to everyone. So in 2016-17, 407 people attended, and there were 12 selections. In 2017, 991, 24 selections. And then in 2021, 760 people were the number of candidates, out of which 10 selections were there.
I think finally 8 were selected, not 10 for my batch.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think the number of applicants may be much higher than the people attempting the exam. So you do not know how many people would rather attempt. I think last time roughly around 3,500 or 4,000 applicants were there. If I were to take a vague guess. So if all those 4,000 sit, then you'll have 4,000 people attempting the exam. So you have to prepare accordingly. Even for the 800 odd people who sat for the exam, if you want to get into the top 8, that's 1%. So you have to be within that.
One more question lot of participants are asking. What is the relevance of having experience in the exam for the whole process? Because some of them feel that they are not experienced enough.
See, I'll tell you, my batchmate who got rank 2 is a fresher. So that would answer most of your queries. Regarding experience, when you give the MCQ exam, the experience is not displayed there. So you have to answer maximum questions accurately, and that carries 75% weightage for the total marks that you score. 25% weightage is assigned to the interview. Even the board, if you are experienced, they'll ask you questions about your experience. If you are not experienced, they'll ask you other questions. So that makes no difference at all. The board treats everyone equally. So whether you are an experienced candidate or a fresher, it wouldn't matter to the board.
Yes. Any participant wants to ask any question?
Sir, I have a query.
Yes, Adarsh.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my query is what are the postings that we get after getting selection here, and what other work-life balance and what things we need to do after that? Because I think that this is the most motivating factor for me to prepare for the same. So if you can just brief about it, your after selection experience and all, it would be very helpful.
I think my seniors present here would be the correct people to answer this question. Anand sir and Rajesh sir.
Yeah.
So if they could answer this question.
Rajesh is hello. Sankalp,
Sir, I'm taking this question only because your voice is not clear. Yes, sir. Sir, I'm taking this question only because your voice is not clear. Otherwise, you are the most competent person to tell.
But you can write it in the chat.
Yes, Adarsh. Work-life balance is beautiful. Sir, yeah, that is better, sir. Anand sir, आप लिखिए, please. आपसे सुनना ज़्यादा अच्छा लगेगा. Let us hear from the horse's mouth.
please go ahead. It is very difficult.
Okay, sir. Sankalp, can I go ahead?
Yes, sir. I was saying he can write it in the chat box as well.
Should I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Sankalpji. So, Adarsh and others, a work-life balance is maintained in this service. So much so that most of the posts are there in Delhi, and also we have the posts in all over the country. The efforts are made to satisfy the specific needs of the officers who want to go their home place or home stations. However, there are some cases when there is only one post or two contenders are there. Two persons they want to go to their home place, and we can't send both. So in such situations, we see that the gravity of the situation. किसी का फैमिली में प्रॉब्लम है, किसी का हस्बैंड वाइफ का प्रॉब्लम है, किसी का बच्चों का कुछ है, कुछ और इशू है, तो हम लोग उसको कैडर में अच्छी तरह मैनेज करते हैं. We try to satisfy the needs of the officers who have joined in the service. The most beautiful thing that I can say about the service, because I have got a long experience with this service and also on the other departments also, that as I think Harsh was also mentioning, that when he called two senior officers unknowingly, ऐसे उन्होंने कॉल किया और उन्होंने कैसा रेस्पॉन्स दिया, and I was talking about the Anand sir's attitude. You will find most of the officers in this service open-hearted and friendly. So work तो है, pressure है, because you are the expert, and just Harsh was mentioning about the management of the finance of the country, and believe me, the government of India depends a lot on the cost account service officers. So for that, you have to perform. Performance is the key. And I was talking to my head of the institution, and some other officers were there from the other services there at that time. In every service, you will find 5-10% officers who are either less effective or less competent. In our service, you will find hardly any 1 or 2 officers who are not competent to be posted anywhere. So this credit goes to the training institution, professional institutions like Sankalp Ji's Cost Accounting Institution and our Chartered Institution. They give us such type of brilliant officers that we are managing this service very well. Thank you, sir.
वो दो लोग कौन बता दो कहीं
Sir, Rajesh Agarwal and Rajesh Agarwal, sir.
Just joking.
Hello.
Okay, so Kapil ji wanted to ask one question in person.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for allowing me time. First of all, good afternoon to all the seniors and respected members available here. Actually, I have 3 specific questions. First question is, as the question paper is of 120 marks and marks allotted is of 300, so that makes it around 2.5 marks for each question. 1/3 is for the negative marking, so that comes around 0.8 marks for every negative answer. My specific question is, if I try my level hard, there could be some questions around 5 or 10 for which I'm not sure. So what's your take on guessing any question? My second question is, what, according to your experience and knowledge, should be the weightage of government accounting? My third question is, there are some topics which are added in this particular examination which was not in last examination. For example, GST Act and Customs Act. So, as per your experience, what should be the average weightage of these new chapters? This is all my question is. Thank you for allowing me.
Okay. So coming to the first part of the question, that is how you can guess, or if you do not know answers to some questions, how you should take a calculated guess. Like I said, that try to eliminate the options that you are sure wouldn't be the answer. Try to come to the minimum number of options available to you. And then if you are reasonably confident that, okay, either one or this one can be the probable answer, then take a guess. Like even for 120 questions that I had in my question paper, I left 5 because I wasn't sure of anything about those questions. So where I could not take a calculated guess, I left those questions. Where I could take a calculated guess, I took the guess. And that worked in my favor. So that is how you can take a calculated guess when answering questions in the question paper. Coming to the weightage of government accounts. See, this is a new topic, or all the other new topics that have been added in the syllabus. They have been added keeping in mind the recent trend of this service, that how this service is going beyond cost accounting and going towards financial management aspect of the government. So there isn't any history, or there aren't any past questions or any past question paper that UPSC has prepared giving weightage to each topic. So that's why I said that you have to prepare all the topics in great details. You have to keep your basics clear so that if UPSC asks you questions from those topics, you are able to answer those questions accurately. That is how you should go about this exam. Because out of whatever candidates that are appearing, there will be 10 or 15 odd candidates who would have studied everything, and then they'll be coming well prepared, and then those 15 will make the cut. So you have to equip yourselves accordingly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, can I ask the query?
Yes, please, Balaji.
Sir, when will be the notification released for ICOAS exams?
It has been released.
No, for the next time.
Okay.
That is something that depends on the number of vacancies. So this is a difficult question to answer. What is being tried is that the exam is conducted in a regular way. Regularly over the number of years, we are trying to have vacancies which are regular. So accordingly, recruitment notifications would come out. So this is a difficult question to answer at this point of time.
Hello.
So, good afternoon. Can
Good
I
afternoon.
Hello, sir.
Yes, you may. Hello.
Hello.
asking कि इन एएस वगैरह इस बार सिलेबस में इंक्लूड हुए हैं सो दीज आर न्यू एंड द लेवल वी स्टडी इन एएस इन सीए और सीएमए एग्जाम्स इज टोटली इन डेप्थ सो इस एग्जाम में भी हमें उतना ही इन डेप्थ पढ़ना चाहिए या फिर वी शुड गेट फंडामेंटल नॉलेज अबाउट व्हाट आर द इंक्लूजन्स एंड एक्सक्लूजन्स इन ऑल दीज इन एएस or what is your suggestion on this
See,
thing?
फंडामेंटल नॉलेज तो होना बहुत जरूरी है आपका, बिकॉज लाइक आई सेड कोई हिस्ट्री है नहीं हमारे पास में जिसको देख के हमें क्वेश्चन का लेवल का अंदाजा लगा सके कि यूपीएससी किस तरीके के क्वेश्चंस पूछेगी इन टॉपिक्स से. सो